Let's go ahead with the definition of share. The term share has been defined in section 2, subsection 84 of Companies Act 2013. Share is nothing more than the part of share capital of the company. Means the share capital of the company is being divided into smaller parts, and each part is known as what? Share is not representing any amount, but it represents a kind of interest vested in the company. If I am the shareholder of the company, I am nothing more than the owner in the company, proportionate owner in the company. Whatever an owner can do, the same can be done by the shareholder. So basically, in a business, what owner does? Owner takes the decision. So can a shareholder takes a decision in a company? Answer would be yes. Every shareholder would have a right to attend the general meeting of the company and would have right to cast vote in the general meeting in every matter put in front of them for decision making, right? So like an owner can participate in the decision making, shareholder can also participate in the decision making, right, students? Even what the owner will do when it comes to business, owner would have a right to share the profits of the business, right? In the same manner, even shareholder would have a right to participate in the profits of the company in the form of dividend distribution, right? So whatever owner can do, the same can be done by the shareholder. So now further it is stating that as per section 44, a share of a company is a movable property which is transferable from one person to another person. But how to transfer it? So in order to transfer the shares of the company, you have to comply with the requirement of Companies Act 2013 in case of an unlisted company. In case of a listed company, along with complying with the requirement of section 56 of Companies Act 2013, you have to comply with the requirement of depository norms and SEBI norms. And the last thing is you have to also comply with the requirement of articles of association of the company if you are willing to transfer your share in the company. Further, in case of a private company, we know that shares are not freely transferable, but in public company, shares are freely transferable, right? In private company, preemption clause is there, right? Further, when it comes to section 45, it states that in a company, if the shares are physical, means a printed copy of shares are there, it is in the documented form. In that situation, it should be serially numbered. Okay. Further, when it comes to section 43, which is talking about kinds of shares, it states that a company can have two kinds of share. One is equity share, the second one is preference share. If we do talk about equity share, is nothing more than an ordinary share having voting right in each and every matter that has been put up in the general meeting. And equity shareholders are the ordinary shareholder and the realistic owner of the company. They would have no preference over the preference shares. And when it comes to distribution of dividend, whatever is remainder with the company after making payment to the preference share capital, it will be available for the equity shareholder. So we can say that equity shareholder will be entitled for unlimited dividend. Further, they are stating that in case of preference share is nothing more than a share which is not an equity share, right? It is having two rights over and above equity shares. The first one is if the company will get into winding up, the first payment will be made to the preference shareholder from the residual assets, and if anything would be left after making payment to the preference shareholder, it would be paid to the equity shareholder, right? Further, if the company would have profits, then first fixed rate dividend would be paid to the preference shareholder. If after making payment to the preference shareholder of the dividend, remaining profit will be available for the equity shareholder, right? But remember, students, in market, equity shares are quite very popular because they are having voting right in all the matters and they are getting unlimited dividend of the company. So they are actually the owner of the company. Preference shareholders are less popular in spite of having preference over the equity shareholders because they are eligible for limited dividend and they would have no right to cast vote in each and every matter in the general meeting. Okay, so preference is less powerful, equity is more powerful. Got my point, students? So done with what? Share, section 284, section 43 and section 45. Done.